Is there anyone or any agency that is in charge of baggage or how some of these cargoes are loaded in an aircraft, how they are arranged, how they are strapped? Anyone in charge?
Well, as far as loading of aircraft is concerned, I think that falls under the gambit of FAN, right? And first it has to go through a normal security check and find out if the luggage is worthy of going into the aircraft. Loading of aircraft, I'm sure you have seen when there were delays of flight where you're inside the aircraft and they say we have the delay because some passengers were not seen but their luggage is in there. So everything is marked properly. You know where to find a whole in between the whole baggage, load of baggage. You know where a particular passenger's baggage is before you take off, i.e. If you want to offload that baggage, it's not going to delay doing that. But the most important thing is the security, to make sure that the security is in place, to look at the baggage and make sure everything is safe as far as the baggage is concerned.
You know, I say this because, an air crash that occurred in Afghanistan, a cargo aircraft, a cargo plane, perhaps, I don't know if you've seen that particular video, that dropped immediately, took off, because at the end of it all, it was said that some of the cargoes or luggages gave way in the aircraft, and the aircraft lost balance, and it dropped just like that. So if you relate that, some are already saying perhaps we don't have people who still go in and see how these things is strapped.
Okay,
so that's what we're asking, if anyone is in charge of helping to see that such actually secured.
Well, the airline itself has the organization to be able to do that. And that's why you have the department within the airline that's called that's the commercial section, which does the load sheets. And the essence of the load sheet is, where each each container is, as far as cargo is concerned. And what they do is that once the container is put inside the aircraft, it's clipped down to prevent it from moving. Now, if there's a load shift, right, no matter how big the aircraft is, even if it's a 747, it becomes very, very unbalanced. And there's a CG shift, and which will affect the flight. So I'm not surprised if they had very few cargo on that flight, and they didn't adequately lock it down so that it won't move, and it moved when it was taken off. Then you have a big problem.
Because I have a mail here sent by someone who wouldn't want to be mentioned, but also an expert in the field. Perhaps I just paraphrase and read. He says, well, the 747 cargo aircraft, I talked about it, that crashed in Afghanistan at takeoff, that this is similar to what happened to the associated aircraft that crashed in Lagos, and this was released by NTSB after investigation. He says the aircraft crashed after it stalled at takeoff. Being a cargo aircraft, the sudden movement of its cargo displaced the aircraft C of G, thereby increasing the angle of attack, rotation, and the aircraft. And it went further to say perhaps the casket that was in that particular aircraft also wasn't strapped. So trying to link this to what happened in the Afghanistan scenario, that immediately took off, the casket shifted, and the aircraft lost balance. That was why within the airport perimeter, that was why the aircraft dropped. And we also have the video of that particular Afghanistan air crash.
So many conjectures.
Yes, there are conjectures, but again, if we don't have people who look at those luggages or cargoes, so that we can start looking in that direction, perhaps.
Yes. Let me put it this way. The preliminary report from the AIPB basically indicated a few arguments in the cockpit that were not it's not public to us yet.
Okay.
Now, it may well be that there was a load shift. It hasn't been determined yet. All we know as of now, we got information from the CVR. And the CVR basically talks about the communication in the cockpit.
That's the one we call the black box?
No, the CVR is basically
the voice recorder.
The voice recorder. That is the flight data recorder is where you'll now determine what conditions were going on in the aircraft. If it was an engine failure, or it was a flap asymmetry, or there was a load shift, it will be indicated on that. And I don't think that is out to the public yet, or even to me as an industry person. So once we get that, then it will be clearly defined exactly
what happened.
Made known to the public.
And guess what? Once that happens, we'll now know what to do next time, because these are things that happen to teach us a lesson. We can't continue to allow it to go on. We must find a solution to it, and this is what I'm saying.
Well, you've just clarified now, or confirmed that, they haven't transcribed the conversation, the transcript of the conversation between the pilot and his first officer.
I think that's been done.
Is it out now? It's
been done, and I've read the preliminary report just as you have read the preliminary report. I don't think it clearly says exactly what happened. We all know that there is something that was said in the cockpit, but we're not clear about.
Do we have a clear report of what the argument was about in the cockpit now?
I don't know. Maybe we do, but I don't work for the Accident Investigation Board. They will probably have something at the moment to determine the final report.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is if the AIBA has it, and they have a duty to put it out, one would think that by now it will be out, maybe as a part of
let me tell you that sometimes, a preliminary report comes very fast to allay everybody's fears that so-and-so did happen, you read about it. But the final report sometimes takes about a year to come.
But we've been told that there was an argument in the cockpit between some conversation and some concerns raised about the state of the aircraft between the pilot
that's what the report said.
Exactly, and his first officer. Now, if that is the case, well, we don't quite know what the details are, but a host of people have started saying that it's possible the first officer was telling the pilot whatever the argument was about, maybe about the state of the aircraft. A host of people have asked, do we have avenues for first officers, to be able to, who has the final word? One will believe the pilot does, but assuming the first officer doesn't agree with the pilot on certain things, is it possible for them to be able to raise concerns before the flight takes off?
Of course, it's possible for them to raise concerns. They work as a team. And there's something called the CRM, that's cockpit, it's the management of how the crew will work together and how they must work together. It's a training that they do every 6 months when they go to simulator. Cockpit environment is the challenge and response kind of interaction. And if there's something that the co-pilot feels that is not right, he's free to tell his captain that I think this is not correct, and the captain is duty-bound to be able to listen to the co-pilot.
Even if it steps in the bounds of aborting the flight?
Oh yes, of course, even if it gets to that point. Well, before you abort any flight anyway, it's all planned out. And you know what speeds you're looking for, you know what flap settings you're going to have to put into the aircraft to give it the lift for the weight that you have and things like that. These are all things that are planned, discussed in the cockpit before you actually take off.
Now, assuming you have a pilot or a captain who says, well, your concerns are maybe not as valid as, they're not valid enough for us to abort this flight, what does a first officer do in that instance?
You know, see, the thing about it's not, The cockpit environment is not based on conjectures. These are all technical things. It's in the book. If you have a weight of so-so, you must have a speed of so-so, you must have a flap setting of so-so. It's in the book already. So both parties will see what it is and agree to what they've seen in the book. So I don't think it's anything to do with pilots saying that, no, it's 100 knots we're going to take off today, because I feel like that when I woke up this morning. And co-pilot said, no, it's supposed to be 120 or something like that. So there's no argument about that. It's just the fact that, look, you must comply.